So let's try Vicky.
I am very competent today. Vicky in Virginia.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, thanks.
I was just calling because I have a little bit of a deconversion question.
Okay.
I don't know if either one of you were raised in like a Christian family.
I was.
You were? Okay.
Yeah.
I was raised in a very much Pentecostal family. And I'm recently, I started to question my beliefs when I was like 19 and falling away slowly. And now I guess I consider myself non-religious, not really an atheist. I'm not sure what you guys think about that. Like, I'm not sure if the spiritual realm is, but like,
Okay.
I guess I kind of don't care because I have real problems that I have, so I don't really believe.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess
by some people's definition, that means you're an atheist, whether you acknowledge it or not. But I don't like to push labels on people.
Yeah.
yeah. I guess non-religious is just the easiest one I could come up with. I guess, Jen, how did you come out to your family and let them know that you were no longer a believer? Because with the holidays coming up, I know that's going to be a pressing issue. And I've been kind of lying whenever they've asked me if I still believe or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, my family, I guess I'd have to say it was, there was like no big event where I announced, hey guys, I'm an atheist. They just kind of figured it out. And it wasn't because I didn't participate in any kind of holiday rituals or anything like that. Because, I mean, I have a Christmas tree. We do all the, all that. So we give presents and all that stuff. So it wasn't anything like that. I think they just kind of figured it out, but they didn't want to know. So they chose not to really acknowledge it. And every once in a while, they'd be talking about something, because my dad, before he died, he was actually preparing to enter the seminary. He decided that in his 60s, he had been called by God to preach, and so he was going to be a minister. And so every once in a while, he would talk about his beliefs or whatever, and someone, either my dad or my stepmother, would make some offhand remark about, but we know you don't believe that. And so that was the closest they came to acknowledging that I'm an atheist. And, and I didn't push it. It was not important to me that they, that I like pounded it into their head that I'm an atheist. I figured, they actually knew whether they wanted to acknowledge it or not. And that's fine. So ultimately for my parents, I think what happened was that they decided that their relationship with me was more important than, whether I believed the same things they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no like family rift or anything because of it. And there still hasn't been.
Okay.
And so I would say that, unless there's a point where you absolutely have to make it an issue, don't make it an issue.
Okay.
They will figure it out. And obviously if they ask you point blank, you tell them whatever you're comfortable telling them.
Okay.
But, I wouldn't make a big deal of sitting everybody down and saying, hey guys, I'm an atheist.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of parallels between coming out as an atheist and coming out as gay.
Yeah.
And I would argue that if you're gay, you kind of have to come out as gay to your family.
Yeah.
But if you're an atheist, you don't necessarily have to, and that's really kind of a judgment call.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's like an upside and a downside to that. On the one hand, coming out, being forced to come out, it kind of makes it harder for people to discriminate against you because they recognize that, you're someone that they were taught to hate, but you're not really the caricature that was painted for them. As atheists, we don't, there's no, I guess there's no particular push to come out for most people, unless you're raised in a thoroughly fundamentalist family and you just have to break with your family. to do that. And there are some situations where that's necessary. But at the same time, not being forced to do that means that, we can hide in plain sight a lot easier. And so that means it's easier for people to continue to promote these stereotypes of atheists that aren't true.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, our family has been wonderful, always took care of me, so I don't think I have to break away from them. It would be a weird conversation, but yeah, I'll definitely take that advice. All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
Wait, one more thing.
Yeah.
I come from a non-religious family, but I have known a lot of people on this show or through personal relations who have been closeted to their family and then come out. Matt was outed by his or outed to his family after being a host of the show for a while. Jeff D. Came out to his parents, I guess, a little while before I knew him. Matt's wife, Beth, and my wife, Linnea, both were basically exposed to their parents after association with us. In my experience, just from what I've observed, if you've got a very religious family, you're gonna have some friction with them for a while after they find out, assuming you choose to reveal yourself to them eventually. And they might well try to corner you and get in arguments with you. And I know that you see us getting into arguments with people week after week on the show, but I'm firmly of the belief that it's rarely productive to try to reconcile what's supposed to be a loving relationship with a fundamental disagreement about basic religious beliefs. So there's not usually going to be much point to trying to convince your family that you're right.
Right.
But what you should set out to do is convince your family that you're still a good person. And if they can't accept that about you, then there might be a rift for a while. But also, in my experience, usually the family comes back because in the end, it may take a year or 2 or 5, but they still want a relationship with you in most cases. That's what I've seen a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, good advice. Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Sure.
see you.
Yeah, have a good night.